Hi, Bill.
So, hi,
We'll get
Bill.
started in a minute.
Yeah, Bill, thanks for
Yeah.
joining.
Yeah, welcome, Bill. This is Wendy Simons. I'm our rulemaking coordinator. I'll be the hearing officer for today. So I'm going to give it another couple minutes before we start the official hearing. So I have 10:02.
Hey, Bill, we just pulled you up. We don't expect a lot of folks to be here for this. As you know, the bill was pretty chill too. But we just pulled you up as a panelist so you can unmute yourself to talk to us whenever you feel like it. Since I think it might just be us here.
So I'll give it one more
So
minute.
this is Bill. Can you hear me?
Yep.
You can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yep.
Welcome.
I'll try and stay mute as long as, since it's us.
Well, we can be a little bit less formal.
Yep. It looks like we have one more attendee too. Brian
Okay.
Sadie with ASAP, Appliance Standards Awareness Project.
Great.
Let's see.
So are we going to pull him up too? And then I'll go ahead with kicking things off. And so Linda, can you start the recording, please?
We're recording.
Great. Thanks, Linda.
And I did pull him up, so he's a panelist and can
Okay.
unmute and mute himself.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody. We will get started with the hearing. So just briefly, in terms of the order of business, I will make a few introductory remarks about the rulemaking process and how things will go today. Then we'll go around the virtual room with introductions. Odo staff will share a little bit of background, and then we'll offer an opportunity to make public comments. So good morning. My name is Wendy Simons from the Oregon Department of Energy, and I'm the hearing officer for today, and we thank those of you who are participating. Materials for the hearing, including the draft rules, are located on the Odo website. So oregon.gov/energy, and then if you follow the tabs for Get Involved and Rulemaking, and then Energy Efficiency Standards. And we will post these slides on the Odo website after our hearing today. So let me go to the slides. Briefly, just an overview of the Oregon Department of Energy's mission, and energy efficiency standards fall under a part of our mission in terms of energy education, regulation, oversight, energy programs, etc. So in a brief, I think we've got everybody into WebEx, seems to be with no problem, but just a couple of quick points. You are been raised up to panelist status, so you can mute and unmute yourself. We have a couple of ways that you can chime in. If you've got something to add, you can enter something in the chat in the meeting, and then we'll see. Oh, looks like we have one more person joining us. Great. So welcome, Brian. My name is Wendy Simons. I'm just giving an introduction. Right now, we're looking at the WebEx introductory slide. Two ways you can chime in. You can type something in the chat if you like, a message, or just to let us know that you would like to offer a comment, or if you have a question about the process, etc. And then you can also use under the reactions button. If you click on that, you'll have an opportunity to raise your hand. And if you'd like to offer a comment, please, you can raise your hand, and then Linda Ross, who is our host, will be able to see that you've raised your hand, and we'll take people in the order that they raise their hands. So back to our introduction. Here's our agenda for today, some brief introductory remarks, then I'll hand it over to Blake Shalide, who will give us some background on the bill and on the rulemaking. We'll just give a really high-level review of what is in the proposed rules, talk a little bit about the process, and then we'll give an opportunity for public comment. So since we have a relatively small group, we'll try to be maybe a little bit less formal. So just to go back to my notes here. So this hearing is being recorded to maintain a permanent record. So for the record, today is November 30th, 2022. The time is approximately 10:07 and we started at 10:03. The public hearing is being held online and all attendees are participating remotely. So this is the time and date set for a public rulemaking hearing. The purpose is to take public comments on proposed permanent rules to implement House Bill 4057, which added an efficiency standard for spray sprinkler bodies to Oregon statute for equipment manufactured on or after January 1st, 2023. The filing caption for this rulemaking reads, implementing House Bill 4057 from 2022 and adding an efficiency standard for spray sprinkler bodies. Notice for today's hearing was filed with the Oregon Secretary of State on October 21st, 2022, and was published in the November 2022 Oregon Bulletin. This hearing will be conducted according to the Oregon Administrative Procedures Act, ORS Chapter 183, and the Attorney General's Model Rules. In addition to the opportunity to present oral comments at this hearing, anyone may submit written comments to me by email, and it's wendy.simons@energy.oregon.gov, and that address is also available on the ODO website. And we will accept comments until the close of business, or 5 p.m. today, Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. And that is the close of the public comment period. So let's quickly go around the virtual room for introductions. We'll start with ODO staff, and members of the public are also welcome to type your name and organization into the chat if you would like. But my name is Wendy Simons again. I'm the rulemaking coordinator in our planning and innovation division. So if other ODO staff would like to quickly introduce themselves. Go ahead, Blake.
I'll go first. I'm Blake Shalide, facilities engineer with the Oregon Department of Energy.
Hey everybody,
Christy's-
Andy.
Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Go,
Sorry,
Andy.
Christy. Andy Cameron. I'm the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Manager at the Oregon Department of Energy.
Christy.
Christy Split, Government Relations Coordinator, Oregon Department of Energy.
Linda.
Linda Ross, Oregon Department of Energy, Division Assistant, and host here at the webinar.
So Bill, do you want to go next?
Bill Cross, representing the Oregon Landscape Contractors Association.
Great. And I know we had Brian and we had one other person. I didn't catch the second person's name.
Yeah, this is Brian Fady with Appliance Standards Awareness Project.
Thank you, Brian. And did we have any other attendees?
I believe that's it, Wendy.
Oh, okay. Great. Thanks. So now I will hand the presentation over to my colleague, Blake Shalide, who will give us some brief background.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. I will be especially brief because I think the two folks that are the attendees on this call were both very involved with the legislation itself and are very familiar with the standards. So, as folks know, House Bill 4055 was passed by the legislature in 2022, and this legislation established an efficiency standard for spray sprinkler bodies, and it also gives ODO the authority to administer this standard. The standard directly references the United States EPA WaterSense program, similar to a host of other states, and it requires any spray sprinkler bodies that are manufactured after January 1st of 2023 to meet the WaterSense spec in order to be sold or installed in Oregon. Next slide, please. So with regard to energy efficiency standards, there's really 4 areas associated with each product standard. There's the standard itself, along with the associated definitions, and the effective date is the first one. Then there's the test procedure, the listing requirements, and the product labeling requirements. And some of these elements are in the statute and some are part of administrative rules. So for this rulemaking, the statute itself already specifies the standard and the test procedure. It references the WaterSense standard. The effective date and the definitions So with regard to those couple elements, this rulemaking simply matches our administrative rules to the statute and aligns our rules with that statute. The statute also directs ODO as an agency to establish the listing requirements and labeling requirements for all standards with specific direction to coordinate with the programs of other states and the federal government. So to implement that as part of this rulemaking, ODO is proposing to align with the WaterSense product database for product listing requirements and to include a WaterSense label for product labeling requirements in order to be sold in Oregon. And this aligns with the host of other states that also reference the federal WaterSense program. And it matches with our statutory direction and the intention of that statute for ODO to coordinate with the certification and labeling programs of other states. So that's what we're proposing to do through this rulemaking. Next slide, please. I'll just give a brief overview of just the few sections of our administrative rule that are proposed for change as part of this rulemaking. This rulemaking is relatively simple and straightforward, but the first section, section 10, adds definitions for the pressure regulator and spray sprinkler body, and these definitions match what's in the statute and match what's in the EPA WaterSense specification. Section 15 adds the effective date for spray sprinkler body standards, and that just matches what's in the statute as well. There's some non-substantive renumbering in there too, just to insert a new standard in our list. Section 20 adds a minimum energy efficiency standard, the standard itself, the WaterSense standard, and references the test methods for that WaterSense program for spray sprinkler bodies, and then other non-substantive changes just to match formatting. Section 25 adds that listing requirement for spray sprinkler bodies that I was just mentioning, and requires a listing for products in the WaterSense database to be sold in Oregon. And it also makes a non-substantive change to the title, where in a previous rulemaking, we had intended to change that title just to say product listing to remove an obsolete reference to an older database. And that title change wasn't picked up in a previous rulemaking, so we're cleaning that up in this rulemaking. And then finally, section 45 adds that labeling requirement to provide a WaterSense label on any products that are sold in Oregon that have to meet the standard. And similarly, there's renumbering just to insert a new product in that list. And if any folks want to see the actual draft rule changes with strike-throughs and inline changes, that language is available on our ODO rulemaking website.
Great.
Next slide, please. Yeah, and then I'll turn it back to Wendy.
Great, thanks, Blake. So right here, the second link on this page shows where you can find it on our rulemaking webpage, and also there's a link just for your convenience to the bill itself, which I think both of you have probably seen and don't have probably too many questions about. Briefly, our rulemaking process for this particular rulemaking began with a stakeholder advisory meeting on September 7th. Then again, we filed our notice of proposed rulemaking with the Secretary of State in October. We plan to file the rules by the end of 2022, with the rules becoming effective January 1st, 2023. And again, public comments are due by 5 p.m. today, which is the close of the public comment period. So at this time, I would like to open up the floor. If any of our attendees would like to offer any spoken comments, please let us know. It's informal enough. You can probably just chime in, or if you want to raise your hand, you're welcome to do that as well. But the floor is open if you'd like to offer any comments. And I think you should be able to unmute yourself.
Wendy, this is Bill Cross again. I would like to go on record on behalf of the Oregon Landscape Contractors Association in support of the proposed rules as drafted by your team.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for the comments.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it.
And this is Brian Fady. I'll just add, I don't have any particular specific comments, just that we thank the department for promulgating the rules in a timely manner and meeting the effective dates of the bill.
Thanks.
Right.
I believe that's all of the public attendance that we have. So I will go ahead with our conclusion, although if anybody does show up before we end, I'm open, or also we have an opportunity if either of you would like to ask any questions about the process, dates, etc. We are also open for that. Written testimony will be accepted until the close of business today, 5 p.m., Wednesday, November 30th, which is, again, the close of the public comment period. ODA will not accept comments or exhibits after that date. Generally, if we reopen a public comment period, we reopen it for everyone. I don't foresee that happening in this case because we have not had any comments so far that someone has pointed out a need for any change in the draft rules. So I don't anticipate that we will be reopening this public comment period. We will, at the close of the public comment period, we will review any comments, summarize comments in a hearing officer report. And at that point, we will pull together the final submission, and we plan to file it with the Secretary of State by the end of December 22 in order for the rules to become effective January 1st, 2023. So one last chance, if anybody has any additional comments or questions about the process or about the rules. Pause just a few seconds here. Okay, it looks like we do not have any additional comments or questions. So the time is 10. I'm just waiting for it to click over to 10:20, but we're at 10:19 right now. Thanks to Brian and Bill, both of you, for attending and for your work on the bill and with the rules. We appreciate your participation, and this concludes the public hearing. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks, everybody. I'll stop sharing my screen.
All right, we got 2 people.
Great. Woohoo! That was maybe
Yeah, we
more
matched
than
our
I thought
total
we
for
might
the
get.
stakeholder meeting.
And got done by 10:20. Wonderful. Thanks so much for the work.
Thanks, everybody.
Preparation.
Thanks.
Yep, I think it's good. We've got a good routine.